Hello, and welcome to another episode of Standing Apart, the podcast that explores why being different is a superpower, with me, Nigel Ridpath. In this episode, I've decided to go for a bit of a retail theme given the time of year. So, we're going to cover stories on Christmas markets, a Chinese retailer that's taking the fashion industry by storm, and the Queen of Shops, plus my regular features, Superhero of the Week, my 1 minute rant, and listeners' questions. If you enjoy this episode, please subscribe, rate, and like it on your favourite podcast app. It really helps spread the word. Thank you. This time 2 years ago, my partner and I jumped in the car and headed for the Channel Tunnel. We decided on a mini road trip to a couple of European Christmas markets, and we had a fabulous time, bringing back a range of out of the ordinary presents for friends and family, and having drunk enough mulled wine to make Keith Floyd shudder. And by the way, although Lille was great, Ghent was spectacular. I highly recommend it if you haven't been. But of course, the trend towards Christmas markets has got bigger and bigger in the UK too. With so many cropping up, how do the organisers make theirs extra special to drag punters away from other towns and cities? Recent analysis of TikTok and Instagram by Solo Press has Edinburgh's Christmas market at the #1 spot, not only in the UK, where it beats London's Winter Wonderland, but right across Europe, beating heavy hitters such as Strasbourg and Cologne. So, what sets it apart? Well, sometimes a product just gets an inbuilt break. About 340 million years ago, a volcanic eruption provided the incredible Arthur's Seat and Castle Rock. This and the largely Georgian Princes Street provides the incredible backdrop for Edinburgh's market. Sorry, London, it's the ace in the hole. So it's important to remember when standing apart, make sure you capitalize on any unfair inbuilt advantage you have. It may be all you need. And some people don't even realize they've got one, but they're more common than you might imagine. Why don't you have a think about what yours might be? And now it's time for my superhero of the week. Before each episode, I trawl the internet to find someone or a business that is doing an amazing job of standing apart. And this week, it's the major retailers who did not participate in Black Friday, including Primark, Next, IKEA, and M&S. Black Friday, if you didn't know, is the spare day between Thanksgiving and the weekend, which many employers gave as an extra holiday in the US. It was officially the starting gun for Christmas shopping, with many retailers offering discounts. In the 2010s, despite not being a date of significance in the UK at all, retailers started jumping on the bandwagon. Particular kudos goes out to IKEA for creating Green Friday instead, where customers can sell back their used IKEA furniture in return for vouchers. It's a great example of a circular marketplace. And so, well done, Primark, M&S, Next, and particularly IKEA. You are my superheroes of the week. I promised you a story on a Chinese retailer. Up until the end of the pandemic, you'd probably have picked ASOS as the fashion retailer who had it nailed, but they've really struggled on two fronts since the end of COVID. Firstly, those retailers who have both a high street and an online presence have come back strong. And secondly, as with many segments of retail, the Chinese have hit their straps. I guess if it had been a German company, it would have been pronounced Shein, but Shein, the Chinese founded fashion retailer, which also sells a huge range of beauty and home products, doubled its profits to more than $2 billion last year, making more than the Swedish fashion group H&M and the UK's Primark and Next. That's not bad for a company that's only been in existence 15 years. It was set up in China by entrepreneur Zhu Yangshan and started out selling wedding dresses online. So, why the popularity? To its Gen Z customer base, it can be summed up in one word: price. The average cost of a Shein branded clothing item is just £7.90. And it's also no coincidence that Shein's rise has also tracked the rise of the TikTok platform. The firm has made really smart use of social media, recruiting popular influencers and university students to promote its clothing on both TikTok but also Instagram. It has also drawn in shoppers by getting pop stars like Rita Ora and Katy Perry to perform at its virtual concerts. Shein's business model is similar to Amazon's in that it partners with thousands of third party suppliers, many of them in China, Brazil, and Turkey, to manufacture its clothes and then ships them from giant centralized warehouses. It has also sped up the test and repeat model made famous by other fast fashion giants, including H&M and Zara. This sees Shein suppliers produce items in small numbers of between 100 and 200 pieces and then produce more of any style that is a hit. The brand can turn around a new item in just 25 days, something that would take other retailers months. So, in terms of standing apart, Shein has got the model right. But there's a lesson here. To be truly differentiated and successful, you must maintain alignment with the values of your customers. And Shein is starting to struggle in that area. Customers are beginning to pick up on the level of plastic involved in the whole operation and the labor practices that are being employed are also being questioned. There are suggestions that forced Uyghur labor is being used to make some of the clothing. These question marks are enough to make market listing on the US or the UK stock markets a tricky proposition. We'll wait to see how the Shein story plays out over the coming years. It has definitely cracked differentiation in its business model, but customers will stay away if the target demographic feels unheard. The great thing about doing a podcast is that I get my opportunity to have a rant. I get to offload. There are all sorts of things that wind us up, and in each episode, I get to have my say. But in the interest of my well-being, I limit myself to no more than the minute. Now, in the first episode, it went to 2 minutes, and I probably suffered for several days after that. So this week, I'm really going to try and keep it to 1 minute. So here is this week's 1 minute rant. Start the clock. Given we're in the festive season this week, it's Christmas presents for men. Where do I start? Socks, smellies, sweaters, and snifters. Sorry, I couldn't think of an alliterative word for booze. I'm sorry about that. But that's pretty much it. That's not to say that we men don't sometimes need some of those things, but retailers just have such a lack of imagination. In fact, a quick trawl of the Gifts for Him section on major retailers' websites shows that the merchandiser's imaginations run only as far as combining these categories. Sock and wash set, anyone? Right, well, if you're in the market for that, head over to Boots, they've got some. Or maybe you'd prefer a Guinness socks and bottle opener set, in which case Tesco have you covered. Give me strength. Stop the clock. Oh, I hope that's better than last week's 2 minutes. I want to talk now about someone who not only has stood apart for their achievements, but also for her unique style. And I think the best way to start talking about the incomparable Mary Portas is with a little extract from her memoir. The smells of petrol, tea, and leather fill Dad's work van as I sit beside him watching concrete streets give way to leafy greenness. Now you'll be polite to the old fellow, won't you, Mary? Dad asks. Yes, Dad. Be a good girl and I might take you to Mr. Tights if we're not too late back. Sweets start dancing before my eyes, rhubarb and custards, humbugs and pear drops, flying saucers, coconut snow and milk bottles. The shelves in Mr. Tight's shop are lined with jars that make my heart race. Acid drops and aniseed balls, blackjacks and traffic light lollipops, jelly beans and lemon sherbets. Then I think of the pink and white candy stripe of the jamboree bag. I must be polite to the old fella if I want one, but I don't like visiting his shop. The shelves are almost empty and the air is dead, so different from the other places I visit with Dad. It's clear that Mary's instinct for retail started at an early age. Mary Portas was born in 1960 in a small Watford end of terrace, the fourth of 5 siblings. With both of her parents dying by the time she was 18, Portis started her retail career with a Saturday job in John Lewis. She had a keen creative streak and in the late 80s rose rapidly to creative director at Harvey Nichols. By the age of 30, Mary was on the company's board. In 1997, married to Graham Portas and with 2 young children, she launched her own consultancy business. She is quoted as saying, I wanted to create my own world. I wanted freedom. She could name brands from Sainsbury's to Louis Vuitton as her clients. In 2007, she appeared in her own TV show for the first time, Mary, Queen of Shops. The format centered around Mary providing advice to struggling independent retailers. The show brought her to the attention of David Cameron, who engaged her for a review into reversing the decline of UK high streets. Since 2009, she has been working with Save the Children, improving their shops and opening up her own living and giving shop. As she reaches her mid-60s, she has eschewed her trademark red bob, maybe a way of drawing a line under her second marriage to Melanie Rickey, but she never relinquishes her grip on style, with regular Instagram posts revealing a wonderfully colourful outfit. Portas and Ricky had one of the first same-sex marriages in the UK, and a child with sperm donated by Mary's brother. I've always admired people who see the world differently, who bring a unique personality to fresh perspectives. To me, Mary has always done that, and I was particularly pleased when she was awarded an OBE in this year's New Year's Honours List. And now it's time for this week's listener question. This week's question comes from Jay Mason in North Carolina. Jay asks, as a small business who wants to stand out, what tactics should I consider if I have a very small marketing budget? Well, I guess my first point is that many businesses don't stand apart even when they do have large marketing budgets. So that on its own shouldn't hold you back. The key is always about being authentically different. And it got me thinking about an example. We're talking about retail this week. When I was in Toronto a couple of years ago, I visited one of those huge shopping malls that are found throughout North America. As I wandered around, I really felt as though, with the exception of a Roots store, I love Roots stuff. If you ever go to Canada, you absolutely have to look into one of their stores. But apart from that store, I could be anywhere on the continent. But then I came across the Canada Goose store. Canada Goose are a brand of high performance outdoor clothing with a proud Canadian heritage. Their store, which I later found out was the first of its kind for the brand, was an immersive experience featuring outdoor scenes. In the last room, assistants would suggest a style and size of jacket for you to try on before guiding you into their cold room, which featured real snow. You were encouraged to go in your regular coat, wait a minute or two, and then put the Canada Goose jacket on. Wow, what a difference! As you came out of the -15-degree room, the assistants inquired whether you were in the market to purchase. Interestingly, there was no stock in the store. All orders were shipped from a central warehouse. Our increasingly mild and wet winters in the UK meant I didn't think the investment was worth it for me, but it was an amazing insight into what retail can be. Now, Canada Goose were in a position to spend money on this concept and test it out. So, coming back to your question, Jay, how do you apply this story to those without deep pockets? The point is all about working out how, for your business, you can take an innovative path that by itself will attract your attention. That could be how or where you offer your product or service, how people pay for it, how people consume it. It's all up for grabs. And now the trick for you and for other listeners are, what's your Canada Goose move? If you have a question on personal or business differentiation, then why not drop me a line at standingapartpod@hotmail.com. I'd love to hear from you. So we're nearing the end of the show. I hope you found it insightful. If you did, please tell your friends. This show can only survive with people listening to it regularly, and no matter how good we make it, we have to beat the dratted algorithms. So every subscribe, rating, and like that you give it on your favorite podcast app really makes the world of difference. Go on, do it now. I'll wait a second. There's the like button. There's the subscribe button. You know what to do. Thank you. Until next time, whatever you do, stand apart from the crowd. Standing Apart is a Sun Bear Consulting production.